I'd like to call Michelle forward. Thank you very much. Just give her a round of applause. Get started here again.
Thank you, Curtis. I want to as well thank Senator Cummings for her words of wisdom as always and her prayers. I've decided tonight to focus on one issue. So if you want to look at my website, go to voteleclair2021.com, and we'll be talking more about some of the issues with respect to locals and that sort of thing. Tonight, I want to talk about our self-government agreement. And I want to talk about that because it's important. It is going to affect our lives as Métis people in our communities, and the way that we conduct ourselves, and the way that we define ourselves. So I just want to start by saying Article 2.03, and I'm not going to really bore you with some of these things, but I just want to point some important things out. Of the agreement sets out a process leading the federal legislative recognition of Métis self-government in Saskatchewan. I'm going to say that again. It's a process leading to federal legislation and recognition. This agreement intentionally excludes Section 35, and says in the agreement that we can talk about that possibly later. Our inherent rights to self-government is a Section 35 right. And our Section 35 rights are not for sale. Whether the federal government or the provincial government agrees with that, it is a Section 35 right. Think about the values of Riel's government. A belief in ourselves as a distinct, self-determining people and nation. A commitment to democratic principles and practices. People are telling me that our current leadership has essentially ignored their voices in the locals and as individuals in our communities. How is that respecting a commitment to democratic principles and practices? The agreement does not recognize MNS as a government, but sets out a process to which that can be achieved. We all know, we've been around, some of us, a long time. Since Riel, since Jim Sinclair, and all of those people. Jim Sinclair, I can guarantee you, would never have accepted this self-government agreement that is put before us. It doesn't recognize MNS as a government, but sets out the process, as I said, to be achieved. This process is going to take years. If anyone is telling our people that this process, that we've been recognized in a substantive way, it's going to take years for legislation to happen. The process, the development of a constitution is just one of 8 things that we have to adhere to for the federal government to agree. Why do we have to have permission from the federal government to govern ourselves? Is that not what we've always done? Is that not what we strive for? Why does the federal government need to approve our Constitution? It's our Constitution. It comes from, and I'm not saying that it doesn't need work, because it needs a whole lot of work in my view. But that approval has to come from our people. It has to come from our communities, not the federal government to tell us that, okay, We're fine with your constitution. Let's talk about the next piece that you have to adhere to. And then we'll recognize that maybe you're self-governing people. We have had a smattering of constitutional reform meetings. I was at a couple. And as a result, I had, as a Métis citizen, suggested some changes, made some comments. I was yelled at by one of our leaders. And it's a good thing I got thick skin, and I think there's people out there that know that.
1 minute.
We have an inherent right to self-government, not a conditional right to self-government. Not the federal government and not years down the road. We say when we're governing nation. Oh, and what happens when a new government is elected? The Tories, who aren't so happy with us. Does this self-government agreement still have teeth? Probably not. It's meaningless because it's contingent upon an agreement with the government of Canada to agree with the changes that they want us to see. And I see Mr. Morin shaking his head, but that's how I read it. We are selling our citizenship and our inherent rights to self-government down the river. Why are we allowing non-Indigenous people to run our nation? It's equal to colonialism. And we all know that. People are talking about that in the community. Who is leading our negotiations? Who is leading our legislative changes? Who is leading what we are going to determine about our programs and services? It's not us. GDI has literally trained thousands of Métis people. Are we leading that charge? No.
20 seconds.
If we're serious about the implementation of self-government, then why are we throwing locals and Métis people out of our community? That's not good governance. We need to make a change, and I believe that I can be part of that change. Governance structures are like a mirror. It reflects our people and our rights, and that's not happening now. And we need to make a change, people.
All right. First question is, with Bill C-15 currently going through lobbying within the federal government and talking about self-governance and rights, with Bill C, if it does pass, what would that mean to you and under your leadership for Métis rights and sovereignty?
Well, I think the first thing that we need to do is we need to consult our people. I'm not sure who gave our executive the right to negotiate the self-government agreement without consultation with our communities. So the first thing, before we even talk about that bill, is we need to talk to our people. We need to know what they want. And we need to express that voice in a real self-government agreement that represents our people, our laws, and our nation. Not some colonial document that doesn't reflect who we are. So I would say, to answer your question, we need to talk to our people first.
We got one here. Question was on grassroots people. How do we get grassroots people reinvigorated and involved in the Métis movement?
The last 4 years. That's my answer. Because grassroots people are reinvigorated right now. Grassroots people are expressing their voice, saying enough is enough. We need change. Why do we need change? Because they haven't had a voice in this nation for the last, it's not just the last 4 years, it's been a while. That people don't feel like their voice matters. When we're throwing out grassroots people and saying, you are not Métis, you are not part of our government because you haven't adhered to the proper administrative issues that your local is having. When we're throwing out hundreds of people in the city of Prince Albert, you bet they're reinvigorated and they are expressing their voice, and we are hearing it, and we will hear it from tomorrow, May 14th to May 29th. Our people will vote, and they will vote for change, and they deserve it.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.